Hello, everyone. This is Z, and today I have another good friend of mine to talk about his new music coming up, Mr. Dan Sciolino. How are you doing?
I'm good. How have you
Good.
been, Z?
Yeah, good. Good to see you again. And it's been a
Yeah.
while. We visited Buffalo, New York. And how's the weather there?
Starting to get cold finally. So more like autumn. And I
Uh,
feel like normally Buffalo gets all the snow, so we don't have to worry about that for a couple more months. But just otherwise, I will take a blizzard over anything else we've been seeing lately.
and I see your band photos are also in snow, so it's
Yes,
it's
yeah, yeah, bit
funny,
of an homage. Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, my band Fire Garden visited. To give you a little bit background, my band Fire Garden visited Buffalo, New York, to play a show with a good friend of ours, mutual friend, and I found about you and your band, and I was really impressed by you are a good multi instrumentalist. You play drums, you play guitar, you play keys. I don't know what
yeah,
else you don't do, and you have a very good band. It's called Forever in Transit,
yeah.
and you came up with the new record. Tell me about wha- how it's like. What is the record is about and details about it. What you want to share?
Yeah, the album just came out last month. It's our second album for Forever in Transit, and it's called A Coming to Terms. Really, like it's loosely a concept album. A lot of it is just exploring like self-reflection and weathering trauma and just the process of figuring out who you are as a person. And like you look in the mirror and kind of learning to accept the person looking back at you. So
Hmm.
it's this more almost reflective and personal in the lyrics. And I think it kind of follows the themes from our debut album, States of Disconnection, very nicely. And that one
Hmm.
was more like an exploration of our connectedness. So instead of like just looking at who we are in relation to other people, just further exploring the concept of the self.
Concept. Okay. So, how many musicians are involved in it? Like you, what instruments you played?
Right. So Forever in Transit sort of functions as a collective. So I
Hmm.
handle almost all of the writing, and then I have like a pool of musicians that I bring on, and it's whoever I think will serve the song the best. So typically, I have basically my best friend Jeremy Schrader handle
Hmm.
most of the guitars. The
Hmm.
our first album, States of Disconnection, I had a few other guitarists too, which was fun, just like kind of having everybody play to their strengths.
Hmm.
But for this one, I had Jeremy pretty much take on all the guitars, and then bass guitar on Enter the Void, which is probably like our like kind of most technical and heavy song. And then we had Daniel Ross on bass guitar on all the remaining songs. And
Hmm.
then I gave him a guitar solo spot on the album closer, A Coming to Terms. Just
Hmm.
like this really cool, like kind of Pink Floydy type of solo. It's like really like poignant and nostalgic. So I thought Dan's playing style would be really well suited for that.
Yeah.
And then he played fretless bass on a couple of songs too, which was really fun to implement into our sound. Because I've been a huge fan of like bands like Cynic and even like Haken's earlier stuff that
Hmm.
utilized a lot of fretless bass. And then
Yeah.
for all the vocals, we had Chris Lamondola, who
Hmm.
I met him I want to say, like, as I was finishing up the writing process of the instrumental, and like we clicked right away. Like, we have almost identical taste in music. We sing in a very similar range. It was like really just like kind of natural working on like the vocal melodies and lyrics with him.
Hmm.
So that's like the core lineup for this album.
So, are they all located in Buffalo, or they are like all over different
Yeah, they're all
places?
in Buffalo. I
Okay.
did collaborate with Diego Tejeda for this album too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's based in Mexico City, so he mixed the album and then he played a guest keyboard solo on Enter the Void.
Yeah. I was about to ask your collaboration with him as well.
Mhm.
Um, So, talking about your songwriting process, like how you collaborate with different musicians, like you write the you prepare the demos first, or like what's your writing process is?
Usually I'm writing a lot of the specific parts, and I think about it almost like it allows me to write in a way where I don't have to think about like the individual performers so much as how everything fits together in the finished stage. So a lot of my writing, the different instruments tend to be really interconnected in a way that's I think difficult if you have, you know, four or five people in a room writing together. So it's really like intricately arranged.
Mm-hmm.
Then usually Jeremy at that point for the guitars will go over like, okay, how are we articulating everything? And he handles more of like the performative aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
For the bass guitar, I'd played bass previously in some of the songs, and I had Andrew Hefner on the first album on a few songs too. We used to be in a
Mm-hmm.
band together. But for this one, basically, Dan had more freedom to actually interpret the bass lines, and he came up with a lot of the cool like counter melodies and like bass embellishments that you hear on the record too. So he
Mm-hmm.
probably had the most freedom out of the three of them for this one. And then most of the vocal lines I had when I brought Chris in, and then we kind of worked on smoothing out the performance of it. And then he brought in a few ideas too, and like well, like one really funny thing that happened with our song "I Cling to Threads." That was the one I think I had I think the most like writer's block with, and he took some of my lyrics and he sang just like the first verse or two for me. But what I heard, I thought it was going to line up. I thought I put it in a completely different part of the song than he had intended it to, and it somehow just worked. And
Mm-hmm.
now we just rolled with it. So it's just very much like this accidental thing that worked, and it turned into one of my
Yeah, and
favorite.
love that when this happens, when you
Yeah,
have no idea like where to go and what to do, and all of a sudden like something clicks, that's like a very awesome feeling.
yeah, and it's nice. I feel like I have like the best of both worlds with Forever in Transit because I have the advantages of being able to do a lot of writing myself and follow my own thought processes and
Yeah,
like really like with Forever in Transit, I want it to be a reflection of where I am as a musician and composer and
yeah,
person. But then I have all my friends that are willing to, okay, like let's execute those ideas, but then here's some really good input as well too. And if I'm ever feeling in a creative ruck or stuck, they'll do something and it sparks a whole other train of thought for me, which is just
yeah. I mean,
awesome.
and being a drummer helps, right?
Oh yeah, and I feel like my main instruments are keys and drums, so especially being able to handle a lot of like the soundscape,
Uh,
and then like you know the bass and melody and rhythmic components of it. I feel like I can put together really an entire song structurally and have all
yeah,
my bases covered, and then I have a really good starting point or foundation just to keep building on.
yeah. That's awesome. So you played all the drums on this record, right?
Yeah, all of the drums, and then except for Diego's solo, all the keyboards too.
Keyboards. So that's awesome. So, and how you usually record? Like you record at your home studio, or you have other place where like other guys record and then send you
Uh,
stuff?
yeah, a mix of that. I recorded the bass guitar, sorry, not the bass, the drums, vocals, and guitars at a studio in Buffalo,
Mm.
Black Rock EPS, which is like I think it's been around for decades here. A lot of nice, like really good mic collection, really good live room.
Uh-huh.
A lot of like this nice like analog like preamps, EQs, compressors, things like
Yeah.
that. And that was with Nick Borges, who recorded, mixed, and mastered the first two Fit releases.
Okay.
And then I recorded the keyboards from home, my backing vocals from home,
Mm-hmm.
some of the harmonies from here, and then the bass guitar and dance solo we recorded at a combination of my home studio and his place.
Okay. That's awesome. So tell me about your collaboration with Diego. Like how it went. Like initially, he mixed the full
Yeah.
album, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how was that process? Like, is it like how you communicated with him, like sending tracks and telling it, I want this song to sound like that or something like that, or what was your thought process there?
Well, for like a little background, I met Diego initially, I think like on the Haken 10-year anniversary tour, and I took a
Yeah.
tour lesson from him.
Okay.
And then when he couldn't tour because COVID shut everything down, he started offering Skype lessons. I
Hmm.
started taking lessons from him, and eventually, as I was recording the album, I asked him if he wanted to mix it, and it was really unique in that I had my like pretty regular lessons with him around when he was mixing the album. So he was actually able to show me, kind of go into all the sessions, explain every decision he was making across the mix. I learned a ton from it, even just like from a like composition and arrangement standpoint too, as far as okay, what ideas worked, what could maybe been executed better on my end at the beginning before we
Hmm.
even get into the mixing process. And
Yeah.
then we got to really talk about the sound and direction of the album too. And I think initially he thought I wanted something maybe a little more of like the modern, like prog metal, like stereotypical sound, like heavily compressed drums, things like that.
Yeah.
So he took it a little bit in that direction first. Um, I tend to like more like organically processed drums, and Diego's the
Hmm.
same way. So I was like, okay, like do more like what you normally do for it, sort of forget about my expectations. And then we already started getting things to a much smoother place. And like Diego's whole thing with mixing is um, really adding movement that you don't really notice,
Hmm.
but like it keeps everything from sounding stale. So if you listen to like all of our like say like our ambient bridges, builds, song
Hmm.
intros, things like that. There's a lot of subtle movement happening, and he's responsible for a lot of those decisions.
Okay,
And
that's
then,
awesome. So it was
yeah,
pretty collaborative process, like you were like
yeah,
heavily involved communicating with him directly over Skype. And so what type of lessons are you getting? Like, is it more on sound design basis? I mean, you're a pretty good player. I don't think you need a
yeah.
lessons or stuff, but
We actually haven't talked too much about technique. A handful of lessons, which have been really helpful, like different warm up techniques and things like that. A lot of it's been geared towards the sound design. Like Diego's ethos is every sound he uses, he makes himself.
yeah.
So the last like several years, I've been trying to adopt the same mindset, and it's awesome because now I have this whole collection of sounds that are really unique to me. And almost, I think every sound you hear on the Fit album is one that I designed myself. So there are really no
Yeah.
like presets or anything like that. And
Hmm.
a lot of it, like some kind of unconventional methods too. Like on our song "Let Go Your Earthly Tether," in the very beginning of the song, there's this like call and response line between a piano, and it sounds almost like a kalimba or like plucked
Hmm.
percussion instrument. I made that from a talking drum sample that I recorded at Dan's place like a few months earlier. So
Okay.
like things where it's like you wouldn't really guess what the source was, but and there's a lot of like vocoders kind of buried in there. Lots of like I started collecting analog synthesizers.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
more.
Diego worked with Haken and of course his new
Yeah.
band, Temek, I think,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
and of course he works with Devin Townsend as well.
Yeah.
Very impressive sound design and look
Yeah.
productions and stuff. And I'm wearing Haken shirt. I don't know
I
if
see
you
that.
have
Yeah.
noticed or not, because
I did. Yeah.
we both like Haken,
Yeah.
and I had a pleasure opportunity to open for them with my band Fire Garden.
Yeah.
And I think we played one of our best shows there
Yeah.
with the very less rehearsals, but it went really good, and we got like very good response.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but that's one of my Haken memory in a sense.
Yeah. It's a
But
great memory.
yeah, it's a great memory. I don't know if
Mhm.
I'll get the opportunity again or not, but it
Yeah.
was good to do that. Um, so he played a guest solo on what record? What song actually?
Enter the Void.
Enter the Void. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So okay, that's awesome. So you play like different instruments. You play drums, you play keyboards. I mean, you have a huge collection of keyboards as well,
Yeah.
right?
I do. Yeah.
What's your favorite instrument these days? What you really like?
Um, I think my Seaboard. It's it's really it doesn't generate sound. It's just a MIDI controller, but I can get expression out of it that's very hard to do on a traditional keypad. It's like yeah, it's just like a continuous silicone surface. You can press like right and dig into the key, play vibrato on it. playing lower on the key versus higher as a controller. So I can use that to like open up the filter or add in another layer of sound.
Mm-hmm.
That can really, it's almost like playing like a guitar or violin at that point.
Mm-hmm. So that's like your most time spending these days with it.
Yeah, either that or my Matrix group. She had like kind of off to the side of my desk here.
Oh, this is
So
awesome.
it's a really powerful analog synthesizer, and it's like as close as you can get to modular synthesis without actually going modular. So like each of the buttons on it, it like kind of represents like a patch cable. It's really versatile, has a really cool set of like analog effects built into it too.
Yeah, I tried to get into this world a little bit. Like I
Mm,
bought a couple of analog synths and
mm,
different synths and tried to
yeah,
experiment with it, and then it was too much work for me.
yeah.
So I end up selling it, and then I bought Korg Nautilus.
Oh,
So
nice.
so I have that, which I'm like doing my most of the stuff these days. Uh, but mostly in the past, I've like relied on software synths and stuff. Most
Yeah,
of the time, VSTs um, and I've collaborated with different keyboard players, which they
yeah.
bring their own like stuff. So yeah, mostly it helps, to I mean, of course, I'm primarily I'm a guitar player, so I have huge guitar collection and
Yeah,
amp collection, which
yeah,
I and a lot of pedals. I mean, I don't have
yeah,
space to walk in my room right now. Like if
right.
I have to jump around to skip the
Yeah,
pedals and
yeah, for sure.
cables on the floor.
Yeah.
So your record, let's get back to it. Um, so like how long it usually take took you to complete this record? Like when you start writing it and like completed it, and give us some.
Uh, Always longer than I want, is how I describe it. So just for reference, and the time it took me to record and release this album, I have probably another like hour of material I think that I wrote, and then a lot of this I actually wrote when I was recording our first album, States of Disconnection.
Uh-huh.
And one reason why it took longer was bringing Chris and Dan on board and
Hmm.
having different musicians than I expected, especially with Dan having more creative freedom on the bass. And really, like the album was originally going to be an instrumental EP with three of the songs that are on this album that form just almost like a suite. And you actually hear a lot of like different motifs and themes across those three songs in particular
Hmm.
that pop up, especially in the instrumental. And that's a byproduct of what I originally intended. So when I brought Chris on board, it took us probably maybe like 9 months to a year to like to write all the vocals, demo everything out.
Hmm.
Um, it's more a bit more time for Dan, but usually when I write a song, it happens pretty fast. Usually I have some sort of spark of inspiration as far as like some sort of like concept I want to explore, either lyrically or some sort of like musical concept or technique I use as a starting point. And then typically what I do is I'll have, okay, maybe I'm writing a chorus as my starting point,
Hmm.
and then I build it up vertically, meaning, okay, I kind of figure out, okay, like the arrangement, what kind of like instrumental vibe I want. Is it going to be heavy guitars versus more clean guitars? And then from there, I kind of build horizontally. So I think I
Hmm.
try to find something that is a really strong starting point. Maybe it's a chorus melody or a riff or something or a drum idea.
Yeah.
I kind of flesh out the arrangement, and then I kind of have my palette of sounds for the song then, and I can start building out more. And then I know I have that solid starting point.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like you have tons of options when like how you commit to that. Okay, this is the sound I really want, because you have
I'm,
like so many, you have matrix keyboard, you have then
yeah,
C boards. How you decide, okay, this is the one, okay. I'm
I
touching this
think
only.
I think what helps for Forever in Transit specifically is like my mindset with it. Like literally, the name Forever in Transit is the idea that I'm always a work in progress, and I want to grow, and I want Forever in Transit to kind of chronicle that growth.
Hmm.
So I want it to really represent what I can do at a moment in time. So that I think that mindset kind of frees me from, okay, well, I could go back and try it maybe with this different synth, or I could spend, another 10 hours turning the filter knob and try to get
Yeah.
something better. And it's like you hit a point of diminishing return working on something where after a certain point, you're not really, if anything, it starts to detract from the sound.
Yeah.
You lose the original spark that made you fall in love with what you're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I got into this rabbit hole a few times where
Mhm,
I have good microphone collections and all, and I
mhm.
set up, okay, let's record guitars for this. And then okay, which microphones to put, or should I go DI and should I go this? And
Yeah,
I'm recording right now my new Fire Garden stuff, and I'm like I have like five guitar tracks going on, four different microphones and
yeah,
DIs for each
yeah,
left and right. And
yeah, yeah.
and I'm like, okay, who is going to mix it now? If I
Right.
record it now, I have like millions tracks going on, which is
Yeah.
insane. So
Oh
I,
yeah.
I'm trying to build my studio in a sense where, everything is in place and I just plug and play. Okay, these are my sounds ready to go and just
Mhm.
hit record and just record
Yeah.
whatever the inspiration comes. So, I mean, my
Yeah.
next going forward will
Mhm.
be like I'll try to write as a demo with mix and writing together.
Yeah.
Instead, that would save some time and get the job done. And
Mhm.
inspiration will be there. Most of my stuff is like I write it, demo it, and then lose inspiration and then come back to it after a few
Yeah.
months. So that's a
Yeah.
very tell so about your band. Like, are you planning to play any live shows with it, or what's?
Yeah, I have our first show booked in November. We're opening for a whole bunch of prog guitarists, basically. Felix Martin, Andosan, and Pohak.
Okay, that's awesome.
And yeah, I think it's a really fun lineup for First Forever in Transit Social. We're gonna play a few songs off the new album. This will be the first time that Forever in Transit ever plays live because it was originally intended just to be a studio project.
Yeah,
So definitely excited to actually see how this translates in the live setting.
and
So
this is a good opening start.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity. So wish you very best of luck for
Thank
that.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do fans should expect from this record? Like, if somebody don't know about your band Forever in Transit, what they should expect from this? What type of sounds or
Um, yeah.
stuff?
I describe it as a project that's focused more on the journey than the end destination. So the songs are kind of sprawling in terms of structure, and I mix a lot of inertia and energy. Think like more like metal elements with like a strong backbeat, busy guitars, really busy keyboards, and I juxtapose that with ambience. So it's almost like this push and pull between something that's really propelling the momentum forward, but then the ground kind of gets swept out under your feet and you kind of float a little, introspect a little bit, and then right back at it with something that's like really energetic.
That's a good way to describe it.
Mhm.
My thoughts on your band is I've listened to your record few times. It has a touch of organic feeling as well with your sounds, and it has modern feeling as well, which is more prog metal.
Yeah,
These days happening. And it's a good sense of melodies and stuff going on and harmonies.
yeah,
And it's not like blasting all the time. It's like it has ebbs and flows in it. It's
yeah,
like good pace of the songs. So
yeah.
congrats, my friend.
Thank
You
you.
did great work on this record and wish
Yeah,
you best luck for the future as well.
I
And
appreciate that.
yeah, thanks for your time for
Yeah,
this podcast as well.